Hey, I'm Tiny.
And I'm Nate. Today we're going to show you the story of how we bought our first cash flowing duplex for just $20,000.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
How'd they do it?
Yeah, our point here, how did they do it? You know, the point of this whole podcast is just to document our real estate investing journey. And this duplex is one of the first properties we bought on seller finance or creative terms.
Yeah, creative deal. So again, just for everybody who's new to this, because everyone is, because it's new, we want to break down real estate investing to where it's not so scary, it's not as spooky, to where just the average person who's never done this can go, oh, maybe I could do that. It's really not as terrifying as you might think, and we certainly don't know everything, but we're learning a ton, and just want to bring everybody with us, and we're just going to have a good time. So thanks for being here today.
That's right. So why don't I break down how we got the lead, how we landed the
Yep,
contract, how we negotiated it, and then you take them on the journey of how we funded it.
sounds good. Looking forward
Okay.
to it.
So first thing we did is we went on PropStream and we were looking for tired landlords. Those are people that have owned property for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years that might
Mhm.
be considering that maybe they're aging out of owning property. They don't want to be a landlord anymore. They're out of town, and so they don't want to manage it. And we just sent them very simple postcards. And we got a call back from somebody that owned a duplex up here in Bellingham, Washington, and they lived south of Seattle. And at first they wanted like 700,000 for the property. And that was way above market.
Yeah.
Market was probably closer to, 490 to 560, somewhere in that range.
Mhm.
And so what was really challenging about it at first is what to do when the seller's expectation is, way higher than even retail, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So step one was just demonstrating, hey, in our area, in our county, you might see another duplex sell for 700,000, but it's overlooking the bay, right? It's in a
Right.
totally different neighborhood than this one
Yes.
is. And so setting those expectations was done through just pulling comps and sending them examples of other similar properties that sold that was like theirs in that
Right.
actual neighborhood.
Now I'll slow you down here because you've mentioned a couple things really fast of like we went to PropStream and then we pulled comps and people might not have a clue what we're talking about. PropStream is just a software that you can subscribe to and you're able to pull a bunch of information from. You could also use something like Redfin that's free and available. You'll get most of the same data. It's just not as fast to search. But after that, Nathan, when as far as like pulling comps, what are you? Because we went to them with data and we're like, hey,
Yeah.
and even that didn't work. Remember, like our goal
Yep.
wasn't to buy a duplex. You remember what we set out to do? Like what we were going to do in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, we were looking for flips. We were looking for properties that would make good wholesale properties for our other partners. And
Mhm.
in this case, they wanted, again, more than retail.
Yeah.
But what we were able to do was to suggest, to let them know that we probably couldn't buy it at the price that they wanted.
Yep.
However, we have a database of other investors and buyers in our community that buy properties cash, are looking to buy and hold, are looking for multifamily. So what if we went under contract for 30 days and I look to assign this to one of our investors in this community?
Mhm.
So that's what we did. We went under contract, I think, for 560, 570. It was more than I
Yeah.
knew anybody in our community would buy it for.
Yeah. And it was I remember you worked your butt off to dispo that and to work with another investor in the resounding like what you told the seller was that's too high. And they were going, "No, no, I know the market. I really want this for it. I believe in my property," which everyone will say that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like if the market won't bear it,
That's it.
you can't sell it. And so I remember the patience that you had with the guy and really working with him and going, "Okay, let's see what happens." And
Right.
you just I mean, conversation after conversation, hearing the same thing back from the community going, "Nope, can't make that happen." "Okay, what about this?" "Nope." And
Right.
kept going back, and just
You know,
the value of just being open and honest and going, "Hey,
right.
it's not gonna sell for this. Can we go lower and see?" "Yeah, try it." "Okay, still not getting there." So I love that you didn't give
Yeah.
up. I told you to give up on it. Do you remember that? I was like, "Cut it
Yeah.
loose."
Totally. Totally. We could have. We easily could have given up. You know what? It reminds me of collecting baseball cards when you're a kid and you look in the Beckett guide and you think your Ken Griffey Jr. is worth like $20, but then you take it to the, you take it to the
Yeah.
open market and maybe your neighbor's willing to pay $4 and
Yeah.
the guy
Yeah.
down at the card shop is willing to pay $6. Well, it's not actually worth $20 if
That's
the
right.
market won't pay $20 for it.
That's right. Yep. So just I think a lesson I want to kind of pull from our experience, little nuggets for people watching, like what's something we learned from theirs.
Yeah.
Man, just everything's negotiable. And I struggle with this still to this day of like, okay, what ballpark are you in? Because I want to qualify people in or out. I
Yeah.
really need to focus on motivation, not numbers. Numbers are so
Mm,
much less important than motivation. As an
right.
investor looking to buy something off market or even on market, if there's a problem to solve, like that's the biggest one. Like spoke to
Right.
a lady
Right.
today, they've got a $2 million complex of property, but they've got pain. Like they don't need to sell it, but they want to go do something else. It's like, okay, there's
Right.
pain there. Maybe we can solve that. So that's one of the biggest things we've learned over the last, I don't know how long, year or so, is longer than that, I guess, is if there's pain, there's opportunity if you can solve that. So not just focusing
Yeah.
on the
Focus
numbers,
on
because
solving the problems. Right.
focus on solving the problem. Yeah, absolutely. And
Well,
then
well, and so this seller,
yeah,
they needed to sell this before they turned a certain age for their
right,
own tax and retirement purposes, or CPA
right.
told them to, but they
Mhm.
didn't want all the cash in one calendar year.
That's right.
Okay. So
Yep.
this is where it gets fun. So after getting offers from other investors that were, too low for him, I knew we really needed to be at like 500, 520 probably to buy it ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
And other investors were offering similarly. And that they came to that number based on the cash flow, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't cash flowing very high. And
Mhm.
so what we decided was to offer him to buy it ourselves
Mhm.
with a partner, but we needed the terms to work for us. So if we were going to get him anywhere close to what he wanted, 540, 550, 560, 530, if we were going to get there,
Mhm.
how were we going to do it? We were going to get there by getting the terms we wanted so that the property still cash flowed.
Yep. Yep. What do you mean by that, by the way? When you say we get the
Cash
terms
flowed.
we want? Well, just the terms. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to break it down. What's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Say that in a simpler way.
Yeah, well, if we wanted to go buy that property using a bank loan, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they would want 20% down. So let's
Mhm.
just do round numbers. Let's say it's a $500,000 property. They want
Mhm.
20% down. So that's $100,000. And then the bank note says, now you have 30 years to pay this back at 2.79% interest.
Mhm.
Um, those are the terms, the amount they
Mhm.
want down, the amount,
Mhm.
the payment each month, the
Yep.
interest rate, and the length of time that the mortgage is due. So this
Mhm.
guy, was willing to work with us to do a lower than normal payment
Mhm.
by just taking interest only payments,
Mhm.
which means we lose one of the benefits of the rental, but we'll come to that in a second. But we have the other four benefits.
Yep.
And the reason why we were willing to buy it at 540, even though we needed to be closer to 500, was because the rents from the renters in the
Mhm.
building were
Mhm.
going to be double what the mortgage payment was. So the mortgage payment was going to be 1,600, and
Mhm.
we believed that by making some changes to the rent rates and some
Mhm.
minor upgrades, that we could get nearly 3,200 for
Mhm.
rents each month.
Perfect. Yeah. Yep. The way I would describe it is it's almost like the recipe of the deal. So instead of
Right.
just going with your traditional, like, if you need a sandwich for lunch, it doesn't just have to be peanut butter and jelly. There's a lot of options.
Right.
And so
Right.
putting together a real estate transaction is kind of like that. Creativity is kind of the limit within legal bounds, but the legal
Right.
bounds are really big. And so, something like creative finance, I remember the first time you explained this to me, I was kind of like, it took me a second to digest what you'd said, but it's like, okay, we're going to do a creative finance deal that's seller financing. So he's going to act as the bank. We're going to
Right.
have, we're going to pay him back like a 30-year note with a 10-year balloon, which basically
Right.
means we'll have payments like it's a 30-year mortgage until it gets to 10 years, and then it will all be due at 10 years. which is
That's right.
scary if you don't know what happens before that. But it makes your
Right.
payment way lower during that whole 10-year period. And
Right.
that was an advantage. You were saying that was an advantage for him because he couldn't just sell the whole thing off. We couldn't just cash him out because he had some tax issues where he needed to make sure, you know, his income wasn't over a certain threshold. So he needed it over time. So that worked really well for him.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Solved his problem, solved our problem, got us into a cash flowing property in an appreciating market. So I'll be very brief about this, but I call
Yes.
this the
Yeah. Cover that.
unicorn property.
Yeah.
Yeah. A unicorn property to me is one that is in an area where the values are going up rapidly. You know, in
Hmm.
Bellingham, the values are going up very rapidly.
Yeah.
But, and so it's really difficult to find a property that actually cash flows, right? Where the monthly rents coming in are nearly double what you pay out in your mortgage for that property.
Right.
And so, you know, a normal cash flowing market might be Indiana or Cleveland, right? Where
Hmm.
you can buy a cheap property, but the
Hmm.
rents are still high enough that you cash flow each month.
Yeah.
Bellingham, it's hard to find that. And so that's
Yeah.
why this is the unicorn property in my mind. It's going to appreciate in value along with the rest of the
Yep.
Bellingham market,
Yep.
but it also cash flows.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's like you can have those cash flowing properties in those markets, but that $250,000 duplex in Cleveland, well, I shouldn't say because I don't know Cleveland, but those markets is not going to become an $800,000 house. I mean, not for a long time.
Not for a
So
long time, right?
not for a long time. So in an appreciating market, you can do that within the span of 10 years or less
So
while
you
getting a
mentioned the
cash flow
fear.
back.
You right, right, and you mentioned the fear of a 10-year balloon. What is that
Mhm.
fear about, and how are we mitigating those risks?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so how in 10 years am I magically going to have the rest of the 540,000 that I didn't pay off? So it's probably like 440,000, something like that.
Right,
Where am I going to get that? I believe, so there's a couple different answers. One of them is refinance the property, right?
right,
So you do a refinance on it, and the bank goes, "Oh, you owe 400 on it, but it's actually now because it's appreciated. Now it's actually worth 750.
right,
Yeah, we'll give you a loan on that. Sure, that seems like a safe bet." And so then you refinance the property, you get the cash out that you need to pay it off, the 450. You pay off. The seller goes bye bye and thank you very much, and then you have your new loan for
right,
whatever amount it needs to be. Plus,
right.
likely access to a huge HELOC if you wanted to
Totally.
pull out equity because it's appreciated so much. So just depends
That's
on you.
right. That's right. So the other part of this term is the seller agreed to a 10% down payment, which is
That's
awesome
right.
because a traditional bank loan might be 25% for commercial property or investment property, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so we only tied up 10% of the buy price
Hmm.
of liquid cash in order to hold and control this asset. But it
Which
gets
still,
better.
which still is 54 grand plus closing
Sure.
costs.
Absolutely. It's
I
still
remember you
54
telling me that,
grand.
and I was like, "That's cool, but who's got 54 grand?" So it does get better. So there's this little magical thing you can do with IRAs called self-directing IRAs. And so I forget where I heard about this or where I found out about it. Probably one of the many books you've encouraged me to read or we found along the way. Um, Actually, it was Robert Kiyosaki's series. His tax advisor, I think, mentioned it to me. Anyways, basically, you can instruct your Roth IRA custodian, or you can find a company that will take your Roth IRA funds. They will be the custodian of it. So they keep you from just cashing it out. They
Right.
separate you from that money. And you can direct them, hey, I want to invest in this. I want to go buy a stack of gold. I want to go buy a painting. I want to go buy a herd of cattle. I want to go buy real estate. You can invest it in whatever you want. There's a couple limits, but you just can't cash that money out and like go buy a sports car with it. It's got to go back into your IRA until you reach 59 and a half, and then you can go buy your sports car.
Okay.
So that money is tax free, right? Because you're taking money you pay if it's a Roth, you paid money on it before you put it in. You're taking that money and then you're going and investing with that money. That's creating more money. It goes back into the Roth IRA bucket, tax free.
Awesome.
Magical. Now, what's even more magical about
Magical.
that is is there's lots of people with Roth IRAs, like
Right.
lots of people.
Right.
So I won't give away who it is, but someone very close to me, who's who happens to be an employee who's worked for a decade for the same company, has a great retirement plan, and he's
Yep.
like, I'm really invested in a lot of stocks and traditional stuff, but nothing in real estate. I'd like to diversify. Any idea
Right.
how I could do that? And I was like, actually,
Right.
I do. So I explained the process. I said, but the thing is you can't you can't buy a house with it that you go and live in. So there's got to be the
Mm.
separation. It's got to be investment. So you and I were stoked on this deal, but we're like, how are we going to fund it? We need another like 35 grand, 35 grand. I was like, well, let me talk to my guy, see what he's got. Um, so this guy's name is Aaron. I won't tell you where he lives, but he lives close to me, and he's a super awesome dude. But he was kind of going, "What's this real estate stuff about? I want to learn about it." So anyway,
Right.
long story short, I get Aaron, my friend, to after explaining everything, go, "Yeah, that sounds like a legit investment." He is going to take his money, and I forget the exact return, but it is a serious return on his money. What he's able to do, I think he was getting 8 or 9, no, maybe 11 or 12, where it
Right.
was, and we'll be able to do significantly better than that. And again, this is money that's investment money. He cannot touch it
Right.
anyways.
Right. Right.
I
I
had a
think
CPA.
he's going to get a guaranteed rate out of the cash
Yes,
flow, right? He gets a portion of the
yes,
cash flow, but then he gets
yes,
also a portion of the equity when it resells.
exactly. So we used so I yeah, I'll too many stories in my head to tell all in one podcast, but, um, the way we structured this deal, because 'cause I'm sure some people are like, "Oh, great, but how do you do that?" In the states we live in, this deal was in Washington, and so the way that we did that was through a promissory note. So we got a real estate
Right.
lawyer. We didn't make this up. Pay a
Right.
lawyer, pay an attorney. They're well worth it, and
Yeah.
paid him to write up the promissory note. Got all the correct paperwork done so that Aaron, legally has that right to that portion of the sale when we sell
Yeah.
that property. So
Right.
before 10 years is up, that's kind of the magic time. I keep saying magic. That's when the time runs out on the balloon payment. We can
Right.
either refinance it and keep it, or we can sell it. We will most likely sell
Right.
it because of the way it's structured. And when we go and sell it, Aaron will get a percentage of that. And that percentage plus the cash flow is going to be his full net return on his investment, of
Right.
30K. And so
Right.
that is an incredible way for you and I to help people we know grow their wealth, in a
Right.
safer way. It's not just in the stock market, which tanks every now and then, and goes crazy up as well, but it's in real estate, like in an appreciating market. Like there's just so much security in this, which is awesome. Like since we bought this and set the new rates, like they've been able to go up again. It's
Right.
kind of crazy. So, um, yeah, I don't know if I explained that well or not, but it's just I get so excited about it. I start talking fast, but it's just
No, it's
what I
awesome.
what I love about this the most is, well, one of the things is it was able to help push someone into real estate investing that probably wouldn't have, and they
Right.
didn't know they had the ability to do it, but they did. They have for a long time, and so it's like,
Right.
okay, well, if that's true of my friend, how many other people out there, including my parents and people I went to high school with, they've got a house or they've got a retirement plan, and it's just sitting there being ignored by somebody in an
Or
account.
worse, cash in the bank, right? Losing value
Yes,
to
it's
deflation
they're just basically
or
throwing money
inflation.
out of the window. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you mentioned a bunch of people there. I want to do this. It occurred to me, who are the different people that helped us achieve this?
Yeah.
It was the seller. It
Mhm.
was our title officer,
Yes.
title and escrow
Yep.
officer, a
Mhm.
great real
Shout out
estate
to Chicago
attorney.
Title. You guys are awesome.
Shout out to Chicago Title, a great real estate attorney, uh, a
Yes.
a friend who wanted to be invested in real estate but wanted to do
That's
it
right.
passively, right?
Yeah.
Didn't want to be a landlord, so
Yep.
he was a cash provider. We were the deal providers.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, how about say something about our property manager?
Oh my gosh. We have like one of the world's best property managers. So her name is Jen, and she's an agent that we were actually doing a deal with at a different time. And she's just a phenomenal person. But she's like, she has a property management company. And I remember you and I going, okay, we don't want to manage this ourselves, even though you live close. Like, we want to
Right.
have a bunch of these. How do we do that? You got to have a
Right.
team and people you trust. So she's so
Right.
awesome, like totally proactive. So the moral of that story is find an amazing property manager, worth their weight in gold. They will keep you out of trouble. They will fight for you. They will avoid fights for you because they know how to maneuver things.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, man, just amazing what she's able to do, and just the problems she can navigate with the experience she has. Like, don't
Yep.
find a brand new property manager who's not made a bunch of mistakes before, like, because
Right.
there's a lot of them, and they're constantly changing with like laws around COVID and eviction and all that stuff. Depending on what
That's
state you
true.
live in, it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. So find someone with
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. And my first time walking through the process with her, I was just like, it was this huge weight off my chest and my shoulders, just realizing how much work she was going to do on her behalf
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that that property was a worthwhile investment for
Yep.
us.
Totally. Yeah,
And
you can
so
tell.
how to buy?
Yeah, I was gonna
Go
say, you
ahead.
can tell when you talk to somebody who's an expert in their field, just the
Yeah.
like level of competence that they demonstrate when they're
Yeah.
talking, and they're actually sharing real stuff. It's not just theory or buzzwords. They're like, you need to watch out for this. What's your rate on that? How much are you paying for this? What are you going to do when this happens? It's like, oh, okay, sweet,
Right.
smarter than me.
Well,
Yes.
which that's got to be the next episode, right? Who, not how we find our next two, who knows,
So good.
who is smarter than me, who knows more than me, who can help me achieve what I want, and how can I help them get what they want. That is the theme of 2022, and it's definitely exemplified in Jen as our property manager.
Absolutely. I can point to our whole team as it grows, and like, I'm telling them that. I'm not hiding it from them, and just being able to point it out. You don't know this yet, but I'm doing that with our cold calling system. Like, we're going to make a switch, and it's going to be so much better because I'm not going to be in charge of, twisting all the knobs and changing everything. It's like, I'm going to let an expert do it, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yeah,
Love
it's
that.
powerful, super
love
powerful. I would also say, did we mention this last episode about not or about the hesitation, the natural tendency people have to not move forward when they don't understand like every detail? Did we talk about that?
Say what's on your mind.
You pointed out, I think people could gloss over like, oh, there were some nice people that helped him along the way. That's cool. The thing I want to make sure people are getting, our listeners here, is we didn't know we were going to run into all of those people beforehand. There wasn't like some handbook we were following. It was,
Right.
we were trying to solve a problem, and we just kept solving it. We didn't give up. We kept pursuing, like, okay, what does a success look like? That didn't work. How can we do it over here? Dispoing it didn't work. Putting together a different deal didn't work. It kept taking effort and time. I mean, how long did this deal take to structure, beginning to end?
3 months, probably.
I was gonna say 3 months. So just because it doesn't work the first time, or because the first person you talked to gave you an answer you didn't think was good, like, don't stop. Don't just give up. I would say, the things we didn't know that our title officer helped us through, and the escrow manager was able to help us navigate. We didn't know those resources were going to be there. So I can't stress enough how critical it is to your success to find good people to work with. And so a way you can do that is like, ask other investors in your area. Hey, who do you use what title officer do you use? What bank do you work with? What do you work with any private or hard money
Insurance.
sources?
That's another one we forgot to mention.
What's your insurance guy?
Hey,
that guy is awesome.
Who do you use for your multifamily insurance? Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. Because they just know things that you don't need to figure out or like mess up. They should have your back. And
that's good.
Yeah, just really.
That's really good.
Really good to get that right.
So in the end, the title of this, How to Buy a Cash Flowing Duplex for Just $20,000. Obviously, that's a little bit of clickbait there. We didn't just spend $20,000 to get a $500,000 asset, but $10,000 out of my pocket, $10,000 out of your pocket, plus Aaron's investment with the promissory note was the 10% down to get a cash flowing asset and appreciating market. Then
Sure.
add in Jen. She figures out creative ways to maximize the value of the rents.
Yep.
Yeah. And we just keep plodding forward. Go get the next one.
Absolutely. And I felt amazing about this deal when we put it together, and it was just blowing my mind of like, I can't believe this happened and we did it. And then we went to a mastermind, sub 2 mastermind, and Pace Morby's explaining how he bought like $1 million property for like 65 cents or something like that. And it's just like, oh man.
0% down.
Yeah.
We'll go find our 0% down
Cash
deal
flows
somewhere else.
84%. Like, no
It's
big
probably
deal.
in northern Idaho around some lake somewhere.
It's in Atlanta. It's in Atlanta.
You think it's in Atlanta?
Yeah, it's like a nice, beautiful, beautiful place. But anyways, I say that also to say like we've got a long ways to go, but just know there's always someone ahead of you that, some people might watch this and have the very wrong assumption that like we have it all figured out. We don't, but we're just documenting as we go, and we know a lot more than when we started. So that's
right.
That's my encouragement to everybody every week is get started. Like there is no substitute for like massive action or even just some action. Just do something. Yeah, do something.
Do something. Doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, and this kind of counts, but it's just like entertainment or content consumption. Like actually going and finding an investor, chatting them up, see who they use for title, or go and meet with a bank. Start moving. Actually read that stack of books on real estate investment that you have in your closet.
Yeah.
Like.
That's good.
Do it.
That's good. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me for this breakdown, and everybody out there, thanks for letting us document our journey and for coming along on the ride here. If you've got any comments, if you got something you want us to cover in our journey, feel free to leave a comment below, and we will do our best to do that. If you want to see more deal breakdowns, leave a comment below. If you want to see like the behind the scenes of exactly how our creative deals are done, leave a comment below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next one with Tiny and Nate.
See you later. See you on the next one, guys.